I took a creative writing class last year, and for National Writing Day, I guess you do this thing where you take like a black T-shirt, and then you paint on the back of it. You paint a question, and that question is why write? You know, why write? Like why produce? You know, writing, obviously. Um, and I wrote because I'm alive. Um, which of course is kind of an ambiguous answer, but it was real to me because the year before that, this is when I was a junior. So when I was a sophomore, I taken another creative writing class, and um, when I was in a different county, I live in a different county than the one I live in right now. I went to a different school, and I was just very like creatively in touch back then, I guess, because I was discovering myself creatively, right? Um, yeah, we read in English, the Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan, um, and it really like struck me. It was a very powerful book to me. I really enjoyed it, and so I laid awake one night. Sorry, I laid in bed one night, and I woke up, and I thought, man, like good God, I want to write. Like, I just want to write. After being, I don't know, I was kind of influenced by this piece of fiction, this literature. I thought this is so good. I want to partake in this. So I did. I started, taking more creative writing classes and engaging in poetry, fiction, all kinds of things. I don't like memoirs. I've never been a fan of memoirs just because I feel like my life isn't interesting enough. You know, which is kind of weird because I feel like I have a pretty interesting life actually. But yeah, I don't know. It's just my preference. So I was asked the question of why write, and I mean at this point I felt so thoroughly that my purpose in life was simply to write that I decided, okay, the reason why I choose to write is simply because I'm alive and I am myself and because I have nothing else to do. And in a way, this is still kind of something that I hold on to. I feel like most people should engage in some form of art, you know? Like, also last year, I wrote a poem without using any words. I just drew. I drew a woolly mammoth. Woolly mammoths are coming back again in my video topics, huh? I drew like cave art. Like I did a stencil of my hand, like how ancient humans would do. And yeah, that was my poem. Kind of an ode, I guess, to the good old days. Yeah, humans have been engaging in art for hundreds of years. I feel like most people don't have any reason not to engage in art in some meaningful form. Meaningful is subjective, but it's good for the brain, I feel like. I feel like for a sentient animal, it's comforting to engage in that kind of thing. So yeah, I said I write because I'm alive. But then I guess the question is, what is the meaning of life? Of course, you can see this kind of like the scientific perspective, right? We exist solely for the purpose of reproducing, continuing genetically. And I think there's merit to that. I think that's a valid way to imagine it. Because, I mean, who were we to be spiritual, right? I think at the bare bones of it, it's completely, you're unable to prove anything but the fact that we are just meant to, you know, reproduce. But I mean, I think it's kind of course, it's kind of lame. As much as I agree with the sentiment. But yeah, I've struggled with that kind of question, you know? So what does it mean to be alive? I mean, obviously there's we're in a simulation. Probably. I don't believe that. Life is too real. Oops. That was a crazy hop right there. So what do I think? I don't know. I used to think it was to love, but of course I said again in my last video. Oops, that's the wrong button. I said, you know, as far as it's provable, love is just, you know, a chemical reaction in your brain. And of course, most animals don't feel love. So I guess it's what is maybe sentience, or at least what is the meaning of life for a high intelligent life form? I think that's a good question. Because, you know, if you just say what's the meaning of life, it is to reproduce. I feel like 99% of the planet Earth, of the planet, the life that the planet is supporting, exists solely for the purpose of filling an ecological niche, keeping the Earth healthy, doing its thing, you know. But I mean, what is our duty as an intelligent species? You know, what is our line in life? What, like, is there even one single thing you could possibly answer? Is it 42? You know? I mean, shoot, there is no meaning. Some people will find it in religion. Some people will find it in science. Some people have their own mantras. And religiously, it's like, okay, a devotion to God. You know, this life is just a test. But then what's the meaning of being in heaven? I kind of dread this idea of heaven. Only because I feel like it's the stresses of life that make existing so, you know, interesting. Without bad in the world, I feel like I wouldn't be able to appreciate anything else. Which, of course, is a very kind of generic, if not tropish, kind of way look at seeing the world around us, just existence as a whole. But you know, that classic yin and yang kind of idea. Is the point of life to be remembered? I know a lot of people who don't want to be remembered. He would gladly just disintegrate into the earth, you know? And have it be at that, having lived a life that they found meaningful. I like the idea of being remembered. But then again, I'm so unwise, you know? How young am I? Still living with my mom, you know? Oh, for right now. Life is good. One qualm that I face as someone who, you know, would like to think myself so philosophical is like, you know, so much of philosophy is love, you know? Is writing about love, is thinking about love, writing about the women and the men who are so prominent in our lives. And so it's almost like it feels like my obligation to engage in this kind of discussion, right? And obviously, just as a social animal, instinctually, I do, you know, find the idea of love appealing. You know? Like 18 years of my life, I've not even, you know, like held hands with a woman to be, like, as an example. It's not to say that it's not like I couldn't. There have been plenty of opportunities for me to do so, but like, I don't know. I just take life too slowly. I feel like I'm too complacent in just everything. I feel like complacency is one of the worst things that you could be, you know, like, I feel like being complacent is one of the worst things you could do. That's the way to say it. But I don't know. Here I am so complacent because I'm just so nervous, you know? I'm insecure. I don't know. Almost there. I mean, people will say you only live once. Who are we to know, right? But at the end of the day, like, of course, there's merit to that because I could prove probably without a matter, like, the shadow of a doubt that, you know, at least you'll only live this life that you are living now once on the planet Earth in a state of mortality, you know. But if I could get anything in heaven, I feel like it would be to come back down, not as a ghost, but, you know, reincarnate. Or maybe it'll be so great in heaven I won't want to leave. But I can think of so little more empowering than human life and life as a whole. I went outside one time, I think maybe in October, and I stepped on a slug on accident on my way to school. And I felt like I was like, I was kind of devastated, to be honest. I really hate when I'm the perpetrator of some kind of death in an animal, you know? Even like small bugs. I feel like it's a waste of life just to go by me. Of course, I eat meat still. But at least, like, you know, it's going to something. My nourishment. Anyway, animals will die anyway. No matter, you know, how awful the meat industry is. They have to feed somebody. Maybe it's not a good way of looking at it, but coming, I don't know. So anyway, I stepped on a slug, and I came home, and I thought I should write a short story about this. So I wrote a story about this girl named Mary who steps on a slug on her way to school. I think college. I think she's college age. And then she feels bad the whole day. Like I emphasized, she loves nature, she loves animals. But she doesn't like creepy crawlies, but I mean a life is a life no matter what it is. So at the end of the day she does feel bad. And she comes to reason in her head as it goes on. She's like thinking about this all day. It's like consuming her. This life that she took. And she thinks, okay, if I can eat, she's not vegan. So if she can eat meat, then surely the justification is the way to make her stop feeling bad is to go and, like I said earlier, make use of the death of the animal. Like don't let it go to waste. So she comes home after a long day, and she sees this decomposing slug, which now has like his stomach popping out of it. Probably got like pecked by a bird or something. And she's like, okay. She picks it up by the tail and eats it, and then spits it out immediately and goes inside. I think it's funny. I think it's a funny story. Obviously not modeled off of real life. It's kind of the thing, right? I don't like memoirs, but I do typically model a lot of stories I write or poems I write off of my own life. I guess it just kind of happens. But no, I don't like assigning my own name to something that I'm writing. I really like the idea of creating something beautiful. Going back to that topic earlier with Dwell Club, I felt that it was such a beautiful piece of literature that I should try to emulate it in some form. Or it should at least aspire to produce something that could make somebody else feel the way that book made me feel. I like to think that I've gotten close, at least. But who's to say? I really am enamored by the English language, but I've been taking Chinese for 3 years. That'll be decent, I hope. Oops. And I've been looking at like Chinese songs, looking into the lyrics. It's like a whole different like way to see life. It's kind of crazy. Like it's a different means of expressing yourself. Like language is a way to express yourself, but what language it is a different means of doing it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, it's just so like distinctly different, just in the way it operates. And when you start understanding it, it feels good. And I'm not at like a high enough level to process things like that, but yeah. Okay, I'll do one more. Just because I don't want to take too much memory on my computer. And so it took so long to upload yesterday's video. It was awful. But yeah, should get different content soon. Maybe Hello Neighbor, like I was suggested. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, like this video. Leave in the comments what do you think the meaning of life is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.